Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mack Story.
Hello, and thanks for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Hope you're having a safe and enjoyable holiday season if you listen to this podcast as it rolls out between Christmas and New Year's here in 2024. So it's the last episode of 2024, just a few days before 2025 rolls in. So if you read the title to this episode, it's based on a quote from Jim Rohn. Jim says, "The major key to a better future is you." That's the truth. If you want a better future, it's all about who you are and what you do and how you react or don't react to things that happen in your life. Before we dive into today's episodes, which is going to be based on a mix of quotes from John Maxwell, Jim Rohn, and Russell Conwell, some of my quotes I pulled out of my quote file to talk to you, to help you kick off 2025. I want to share something. I share this pretty much at the start of every year. If you go back and look at some of the old episodes, the ones that were released around January 1st, you'll see episodes where I talk about this, but I don't want to dedicate this episode to this, but I want to mention it to you because it's pretty strong. And again, if you listen to last week's episode, I'm recording these back to back, so I'm still under the weather. I apologize if I sound a little like I'm holding my nose. That's the way it sounds to me. But anyway, I'm just making it happen, and my brain's a little foggy as I get over this sickness, but I'm just pulling it off. So a couple of things I want to share with you, though. I want you to marinate on this. Stop, write down, take some notes. And I'm going to do a little abbreviated version. If you want the in-depth version, go back, look through some of the old episodes that were released around January 1st. You'll find them. So things you need to focus on right now as you roll into 2025. Figure out what you need to stop doing. Everybody says, "Oh, I ain't got time to do all these things." Okay, I ain't telling you to do something new. I'm telling you, figure out what you need to stop doing and stop doing it. That's not going to cost you time. That's going to save you time. Stop doing things that are wasting your time relative to where you want to go in life. And hopefully some of these quotes and some of the thoughts I share with you today are going to help you focus a little bit on that moving forward. So figure out what you need to stop doing. If you only do that, that's going to help you. But we're going to move a little beyond that and say, okay, now you figured out what you need to stop doing, and you have the discipline, the character, the integrity to actually stop doing those things that are wasting your time, your money, your resources, your energy, whatever it may be, that ain't serving you. Stop doing those things. It ain't going to cost you nothing. Just stop. Next thing is keep doing the things that are working. As you're evaluating the things that you need to stop doing, you'll also notice the things that are working well for you. Keep doing those things. If they're serving you, keep doing them. That's the easy one, is to keep doing what's working. Stop doing things. Sometimes that's pretty hard to do. I know I stopped drinking alcohol in 2012, but I started drinking alcohol probably in 1984 or something like that. So I drank alcohol for a while, but eventually I just stopped. It's one of the things that wasn't serving me. It was wasting my time, my energy, my money, my focus, all kind of things. So eventually I figured it out and I stopped doing it. Figure out what you need to keep doing. Do those things. Then the third thing is, if you stop doing some things, you're going to recover some time, money, energy, lost resources. So when you stop doing some things, then you get focused. You can start doing some things. So stop doing what's not working. Keep doing what is working. And start doing something new that's going to move you in the right direction. With your freed up time, energy, and resources, figure out what you need to start doing. For some people, it may be you need to start investing in your development. For 4 years, when I got started in my growth journey, all I did was read books. So the most I was spending was a little bit of money on buying books to read. Then the next thing I did after 4 years is I spent about $800 to go to a one-day conference. And then when I was at that conference, I spent $5,000 to sign up for a 3-day conference. So I went from just buying books to going to conferences. And then I started buying online video courses where it's a lot cheaper than $5,000, right? And if you don't know, we got courses now, bluecollarleadership.com/academy. We got some courses for $99 for basically an 8-hour course, or $199. So that may be something you need to start doing. If you never invested in yourself, you might not want to drop $5,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 or $1,000 or whatever to go to a conference. Just check out those courses. You may have not ever even purchased a book. Go find some books you like. Rhea and I have a lot of books. If you like my podcast, you probably like my books. $18 a piece. Or maybe this is the first podcast you've ever listened to. It's free. Maybe you need to start doing it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. I put out podcasts every week. I got 400. I think this is episode 431 or 2 or something like that. I got a lot. If you're new to this, you can go back, start at number 1 and work your way through. You do one a week, you're gonna tear up some ground. So there's all kind of things, depending on your budget, all kind of things you can start doing to help move you in the right direction. All right. I want to kick off now. I've already kicked it off. I want to jump into a quote from John Maxwell. And remember, Jim Rohn said, the major key to a better future is you. Y-O-U, capital Y-O-U. You're going to be your best friend and your worst enemy. Every morning you wake up, you walk in front of a mirror, you get to decide which one you want to hang out with, your best friend or your worst enemy. It all comes down to the choices you're making. John C. Maxwell, he had this to say. He says, you cannot be the same, think the same, and act the same if you hope to be successful in a world that does not remain the same. In other words, the world's changing. You got to change with it. We got a book. We're just talking about reading books. If you struggle with change, we got a book. Rhea and I got a book called Change Happens, Leading Yourself and Others Through Change. Highly recommend you dive into that. We've also got a course on that, online video course with a 30-page workbook. Check it out. You cannot be the same, think the same, and act the same if you hope to be successful in a world that does not remain the same. The world is constantly changing. When change happens, some people whine, some people shine. The people who want to stay the same and get different results, better results, I should say, because they may stay the same and end up getting different results, but they're going to be worse results if the world is changing around them. They're not keeping up. Last episode, I talked a lot about preparation and preparing. That's what you're doing. You're making sure what John just said in this quote doesn't apply to you. You're not remaining the same. You're preparing for what's next. Growth and change is what's next. Another couple of quotes from Jim Rohn. If you're thinking you could make some extra money, if you have some extra time, forget it, he says. There is no extra time. You can't get any more time, but you can create more value. That's a quote from Jim Rohn. I love Jim. He says some pretty humorous, straight to the point stuff. I kind of call it leadership truth. Straight talk. Let me just say that one line, the first couple of sentences out of his quote first. Again, if you're thinking you could make some extra money if you had some extra time, forget it. There is no extra time. That's just straight truth. So you don't need extra time to make some extra money. What you got to do is figure out how you can create more value. I talk about it all the time. Don't focus on becoming more successful. You may never become more successful if you do that. Focus on becoming more valuable. When you become more valuable, other people will make you more successful. All you got to do is become more valuable. And it's easy. It's so easy to figure out how to become more valuable. That's what I write my books about. It's what I speak about on the stage all over the country. It's what this podcast is about. But you're learning about it right now. You're not actually doing it. You got to go do it. Like when you read a book, you ain't done nothing but read a book. Reading a book ain't going to change your life. You got to go apply the principles that you're learning about in that book. You got to go apply the principles that I'm talking about on this podcast. If all you do is listen to podcasts, if it's entertaining you, that's great. That ain't going to change your life, though. It's got to impact you. It's got to motivate and inspire you to go do something different. Jim Rohn also had this to say. He said, it's nice to know any day you want, you can change your whole life. That's true. At any moment in your life, you can hit the reset button. I was talking about earlier about things I had stopped doing. One of them was I stopped drinking alcohol. I hit the reset button. I decided I don't want to be the person who drinks alcohol anymore. Waste my time, waste my money. I do stupid things. Plenty of reasons. For me, on my character journey, I decided for me to be doing that while I'm doing what I'm doing today is poor character. So I decided I got to model a high degree of character. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying I do. The person I want to be, the kind of people I want to follow me, they would expect me to be able to lead myself well. But I don't judge others. I'm focused on me. That's what you need to do. You need to focus on you. You figure out what needs to change. Jim Rohn just saying it's nice to know any day you want, you can change your whole life. I'm saying any moment you hit the reset button. You make a different choice. The choices you make a big difference. If you don't believe me, go make a bad one today. See what happens after that. The thing is, though, you can make a good one. See what happens after that. A lot of times making a good choice, though, it takes a little time for it to show up, the benefit of it. You make a bad choice, sometimes it shows up instantly. I mean, some people make a bad choice and the next moment they're dead. I mean, that's pretty instant. Negative change in your life is you don't even have a life anymore. You can make a phenomenal, awesome, positive change, and it may take months or years for it to show up. The result of it. You got to know that. And you just make the good, positive changes and carry on. You hit the reset button. But the moment I stopped drinking alcohol, I never spent another penny on alcohol. The moment I stopped drinking alcohol, I never had a headache because of alcohol. I never wasted any time because of alcohol. I'm just saying, for me, it worked pretty good for me. It was nice, hit that reset button. And I've hit lots of other ones, but that's just one that's always pretty dramatic for me. Now I'm going to share a quote with you from, actually got several quotes from him. His name's Russell H. Conwell, Conwell. I'm sure I read a book from him. I'm sure it was old, like 1900s, early 1900s. Might have even been the late 1800s. I can't remember. I don't remember the name of it. It seemed like it had diamond in the title, maybe. I don't remember what it was exactly. It's been a while. But I got some good quotes from him. I got a lot more than this in my quote file, but these are just some I pulled out to relate to today's episode. Start you off with one from him. He says, all the successful people in the world. Oh, excuse me. Let me start over. I still got the foggy brain with this sickness I'm trying to get over and medicine and all that mess. But let me start over. All the successful people the world has ever known have been those who thought incessantly. They have been mainly self-educated in their extraordinary power to think. Their success in all the various tasks which they set for themselves more often resulted from their hard thought than from their hard work. He's talking about thinking. He's talking about being mainly self-educated. That's what I've done. I've shared it with you a million times. I'm going to say it again. I started reading daily in 2008. 16 plus years reading every day. I'm self-educated with leadership development, personal growth, change, transformation, cultural transformation, personal transformation, communication, influence, all that stuff. I didn't get a college education, but relative to what I've self-educated, I've been paid $20,000 to speak for 4 hours. I got a PhD in results in my book. I didn't get paid to speak $20,000. I didn't get paid to speak for 4 hours. because I went to college. I got paid to speak for 4 hours because I'm highly self-educated relative to something I'm passionate about. You can do that. Anybody can do it around anything. Character has to be a part of it if you want to be highly successful. Then the other part is what's your competency? For me, they're both the same. Because what's going to improve my character, what I need to study and read to improve and develop my character, it's the same thing I want to talk about. Same thing I want to write about. So for me, what's going to improve my character is also going to develop my competency. They're one and the same for me. Most people, they're not. They need character development, but then they're interested in something else. They got some other career, whatever it is. There's millions of things that people do. That's the competency side. But you can self-educate in either side. You're self-educating right now. But he's saying a lot of people become highly successful from their hard thought more so than from their hard work. I agree with that. You learn to think at a high level, you're gonna be able to live life at a high level without a lot of hard work, physical work. I mean, I'm a blue collar guy. I come from the blue collar industries. There's a lot of hard working, awesome, phenomenal people, men and women, who do hard work and love doing it. I like doing hard work. But I've been excelling in life because I learned how to think at a higher level. And even when I was doing the hard work, I was learning to think at a higher level, and I was starting to get paid more for doing that hard work. Then I started being able to help people who are doing hard work to do their hard work more efficiently and effectively. So it was easier for them, but they were producing more. In other words, I was becoming highly valuable. That's when I was doing process improvement, continuous improvement, lean manufacturing consulting. But even back in those days, that was more of my competency. So I was reading books, self-educating. I taught myself all the lean stuff. And then I went out and made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year consulting on lean. And I loved it. I was living life. I was having fun. But then I discovered the leadership stuff, and I decided I like that better. So I stopped doing all that other stuff. Started doing this stuff. I hit the reset button on my career. You can do that too. You got to pay the price. What is that price? Well, it depends on who you are, where you are, and how you are. You got to decide. There's always going to be a price to pay, whether you reset or whether you don't reset. A lot of times the higher price is if you don't reset. What price you going to pay for not hitting that reset button when you need to? That one's sometimes hard to measure, but if you say, well, if I hit the reset button, this is what it's going to cost me. A lot of times that's easy to see. But the one where you don't hit the reset button, what's it going to cost you throughout the rest of your life? That's hard to measure. A lot of people miss it. Got another quote for you from Russell Conwell. He says, thoughtful men and women are always doubly valuable, no matter whether their work is what the world calls high class or low class. The streets are better swept by such a person, and the potatoes are better hoed by such a person. The floor is better scrubbed by such a person, and the clothes are better washed by such a person. No, this is old. Again, this is an old book I was reading. All he's saying there is thoughtful people are more valuable, whether they're doing high class work or low class work. You can say high pay work or low pay work, whatever you want to call it. That's just the words he used. He's saying people who can think and who are thoughtful, thinking about the work they're doing, how they're doing it, how it's reflecting on them, thinking about the people they're doing the work for that they actually care about, doing a good job. People who are thoughtful are going to do a better job. No matter what job it is, it's going to be done better if a thoughtful person is doing it. It's all about success. He also has this to say, Russell Conwell. He says, the place we occupy in life is unimportant. The way we feel the place is everything. Let me say it again. I've stumbled on that one a little bit. The place we occupy in life is unimportant. The way we feel the place is everything. That's who we are. That's what matters. Where you are, it really doesn't matter. Who you are is what matters. If you don't like where you are, you got to change who you are. It's that simple. If you don't like where you are, personally or professionally, you got to change who you are. That's called character development. Everything I do is about character development. Everything I write about, talk about, speak about is to help those people out there who want to change who they are so they can change where they are, meaning where they are in life, personally and professionally. A lot of people are miserable. That's where they are. I don't mean the address, but for some people it is the address. They may not like where they're living or where they're working. What may need to change is their address. If they want to change their address, they got to change who they are so they can change where they are. Some people is simply being willing to take a risk or become uncomfortable. I was speaking with someone recently, and they were struggling a little bit, thinking a little bit about whether to relocate for a really good opportunity relative to their career. And they were concerned about the weather where they were going. And I was talking to them, mentoring this person, and I said, hey, I ain't trying to answer for you, but if I'm trying to grow and develop my career, that is my goal, that's the goal he was telling me. If that's my goal, I don't care what the weather is. I can put up with the weather for a year or two for me to go get some experience, for me to go get some additional income to set aside and prepare for the next step. I don't care about the weather. Some people may care about the weather, but I don't care about the weather. If I'm on a mission and it's related to my career, I don't care what my hours are. I don't care if I got to work night shift, day shift. I'm willing to sacrifice. A lot of people are not. People who are not, they where they are because of who they are. A lot of people working a bad job because they won't move. They won't move cities. Or they don't want to move. They literally don't want to have to move their furniture from one house to another house. They just don't like change. 2025 is coming. If you listen to this later on, it might already went. You may be listening in 26 or 27, but it doesn't matter. You keep living, the next year is coming. As Russell said, the place we occupy in life is unimportant. The way we feel the place is everything. Another thought from Russell Conwell. He says, every waking moment of every person contains food for thought. If some live fuller lives every 24 hours than others live in a year, it is because they think faster and higher, wider and deeper, and because the discipline they get from this thought keeps them from wasting their time on trivial or worthless matters. Remember how I started out this episode? What you need to stop doing. In his case, he's talking about wasting time on trivial or worthless matters. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. There's people that scroll social media for an hour or two a day. They miserable. They ain't making enough money. They work at a job they don't want to work. They got a boss they don't want to work for. Whatever it is. They may be struggling paycheck to paycheck. Life is terrible, but they got time to scroll every day and waste that time instead of reading a book or getting on a video course or going through free video stuff on YouTube, listening to podcasts like this, but didn't take an action. But so many people waste so much time. Like I said, when I was drinking alcohol, I was wasting so much time while I was actually drinking. Sometimes while I was recovered the next day, all day. Sometimes it was rough. You know what I mean? Some of you do know what I mean. There's probably a few of you that don't know what I mean at all. I got a friend, he's never had a drop of alcohol in his life. I think, wow, if that could have been me, I could have saved some time, saved some money. All right. One more last quote to wrap up today's episode. Another quote from Jim Rohn. He says, disappointments are not special gifts reserved or the poor. Everybody has them. Disappointments happen to all of us. 2024 may have been a disappointing year for you. If it is, I'm glad you're listening because I'm trying to help you have a better 2025. I don't know exactly what you're struggling with, but if it's related to personal development, leadership development, personal mean looking in the mirror, you got to do something to help improve yourself, your character, who you are, like I was talking about, so you can change where you are in life, at work or at home, whatever that means. That's personal development. I got tons of stuff for that. You may want to check out my book, 10 Foundational Elements of Intentional Transformation. And I think I got 11-part series on that because there's an intro that I talk about. It starts at episode 159, I think, somewhere around there. You can go listen to that series. If you really struggling with needing a personal transformation, go dive into that. If you're a leader, you're struggling at work with your team, check out Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision. Unleash your team's potential. That'll help you lead yourself well as a leader, and then also help you unleash your team potential as a leader. When it comes to being a high impact leader, you got to lead yourself very well in a certain way so that people want to follow you, want to perform for you. I think I got a 30-part series on that book on my podcast. I think it starts at episode 111. That book, if you're a formal authority leader, I've also got one of those online video courses Rhea and I recorded together, 30-page workbook. You can get it. It's $199. Go to bluecollarleadership.com/academy. Check out the individual course. Dive into that. That'll help you become more influential with your team. The more influence you have with your team as a leader, the better your team's going to perform, the less stress you're going to have, the less headaches you're going to have. But I know there's a lot of leaders, when we talk about disappointments, there's a lot of leaders go home every day disappointed in themselves for lack of ability to lead their team well, maybe disappointed in their team's behavior, maybe disappointed in some of their team's members' character. Yet these leaders are not developing their team members. Where's the problem? If you're the leader, if you're that leader, it's in your mirror. Most leaders are disappointed because they don't develop themselves and they don't develop their team. You got to do both things. If you're a high impact leader, you got to develop yourself and you got to develop your team. I know a lot of leaders out there, they just focus on their own personal development. They think they're killing it. Well, they're missing a very important piece of the puzzle. You got to go develop your team intentionally. All right, folks. Hope you have a safe and enjoyable Happy New Year coming up if you listen to this when it actually comes out before New Year's Eve. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mack Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mack's books, programs, special offers, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.